To another edition of our show, our little show, On the Mark. And as I came in tonight to the studios here at Vaughan Radio, I asked my trusted co-worker, when did the show start? And he reminded me that it was in 2006. And so we've been here for quite some time. This is now 2020. Let me start by wishing everyone a wonderful new year. I trust and hope that all of your dreams come true. I wish you good health and happiness. If you have both of those things, I think that all else will be fine. And so I wish you the best of New Year's, that all your dreams come true, and that all the very best that God has to give and all the blessings that he has to give, all of his mercy and grace will fall upon you and your families for 2020. This is the first show of the new year. It is also the first show of the new decade. I've survived on this show over the past 14 years, and so the question naturally is, can we do another 14? Well, we will see. Part of that, of course, continues to be whether we have something relevant to say. Another part, of course, is whether or not the good Lord in heaven will bless us and keep us in good health so that we can come here week after week, every Wednesday, for 2 hours of commercial-free talk radio. It is the only show of its kind still in the Federation, and the mere fact that we have lasted this long suggests that perhaps we have made a contribution, however small, and perhaps it is a show that people tune into and that people still enjoy. Ultimately, we do what we do because we're making a small contribution to the development of our democracy and to make it as robust as it can be, as strong as it can be, to create the necessary platform where our people have the ability to talk to each other, to talk about issues, to discuss various issues, one with another, to disagree even where necessary, but without being disagreeable. We learn a lot if we're willing to talk to each other. We learn a lot if we're willing to listen to each other. We learn a lot if we're interested in engaging in dialogue and conversation with each other. Let me start, therefore, by saying to all the wonderful people of Nevis and St. Kitts, a very good evening to you. It is a rainy night here in Nevis tonight, but I trust and hope that you're well, that a new year has dawned on you, and that it has met you in a favorable position, and that you and your families are doing well. Let me say to all of our friends and families scattered throughout this Caribbean Sea, those in St. Martin and St. Thomas, the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Croix, of course, St. John, those in the British Virgin Islands, Tortola, Virgin Gorda, Antigua, those who are in places like Anguilla and Montserrat, those who are in Antigua and elsewhere, I want to wish you a special evening and trust and hope that the new year has also been good to you. To all of our friends and family in places like New York, Toronto, in Ottawa, in Washington, D.C., in Maryland and Virginia, those, of course, in places like New Jersey and Connecticut, Boston, Miami, Florida, all throughout Florida, we again wish you a very special evening and welcome you to another edition of On the Mark. Tonight, we should have an interesting show, but I start the show on a sad note. I would like to take this opportunity to extend to the Honorable Joseph Parry, a man who has served Nevis in different capacities for a very long time. The news came that he has lost his wife and that she passed away, I believe it was 2 days ago, and certainly she was somebody who was well known to all of us, and she succumbed after some time being ill. I would want to take this opportunity to extend my very deep condolences to the Honorable Joseph Parry, to his children, of course, but more specifically to his daughter with this particular wife. I would want to extend condolences to her family as well and the entire community there in Rices, because I know that it's a close-knit community, and I know that when we lose someone, particularly someone who was as prominent as Mrs. Parry, that all of us, in fact, would miss her, and all of us would have this loss recorded for us, and each and every one of us would have lost something. I have had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Parry privately. I have also had the opportunity to say something, a word this morning at the Cabinet. On behalf of the Cabinet, I now speak on my own behalf in extending my condolences to him and his family. As I've said in the past, and I continue to say, it is my fervent hope and desire that the prayers of the multitude will comfort he and his family in this, their hour of bereavement. Nobody can tell us what it's like to lose somebody, because ultimately we all grieve in different ways. Everybody says they know how you feel. The truth is that people really don't know how you feel. But ultimately, we know that with time and with the passage of time, it allows us to heal. And so, Mr. Parry, if you're listening, please accept my condolences from my wife Sharon and myself, from my home to yours, and from all of us here and on the Mark and on Von Radio. We extend our deepest condolences to you and to your family. Moving on from that sad note to another note, also involving the Honorable Joseph Parry, and that Mr. Parry has written and indicated that having already stepped down from the leadership of the Nevis Reformation Party, the opposition party here on the island of Nevis, that he has now taken the further step and has resigned entirely from elective politics. He has resigned as a constituency representative of the good people of St. Thomas's, and a constituency that he has represented for some time. I believe that his political life spans over 3 decades. In that time, Joseph Parry has made a contribution in many ways. He has served, of course, as a minister in the administration, I believe, of Dr. Simeon Daniel at the time. He would have served in the federal government as a minister. He would have served in opposition, and he would have served as Premier of Nevis for the period 2006 until 2013. Mr. Parry and I, it was no secret, did not agree politically. There were occasions when we clashed politically, but I emphasize politically because I have never, ever lost respect for him as a human being or as an individual. And I can say tonight that as Premier myself, now occupying a position that he hitherto occupied, that whenever we have met, he has always had a kind word and oftentimes a word of advice. I am not so sure now, having jousted with him for so many years in the Parliament, since I myself entered the Parliament in 2006 when he became Premier, and stayed there throughout his tenure as Premier until I myself entered the Parliament on the government benches now in 2013 and continued in 2017 as a Premier in my own right, having been elected as such by the people of Nevis. I therefore have spent my entire political career with Mr. Parry on the other side, in the Parliament and on the other side politically. I need not go back through all the differences we've had. I believe the public is well aware. The words that might have been exchanged, the clash of ideas, and sometimes the clash of will. But as I said throughout, I have never wavered in my respect for Joseph Parry and for his contribution. And tonight, Mr. Parry, if you're listening, I know that you're under the stress and strain naturally of losing a very close loved one. But I would want to extend to you my own warm appreciation as the Premier of Nevis, as a Nevisian, for your sterling contribution to the life and times of the island of Nevis. And whatever our differences politically might have been, I do not believe that anyone can deny the contribution that you have made. I would want to thank you on behalf of the people of Nevis. I feel that I can thank you as the Premier of Nevis on behalf of the people of St. Thomas's, whom you have served for all these years. And I want to thank you for your contribution to the political life and times, not only of Nevis, but of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I have seen the accolades that have come. I have seen the kind words coming from members now of the NRP and their leadership, also from the Honorable Prime Minister and others. And I believe that that comes because it is genuinely heartfelt, that here is someone who we feel has made his contribution, and whatever others may say and whatever the history books ultimately may say, his name will be mentioned as someone who has contributed to the development of the island of Nevis. And so, Mr. Parry, it is left only for me to say to you that whatever your future endeavors may be, whatever now remains for you to accomplish in your lifetime, I wish you every success. I wish you good health. I wish you happiness. And I trust and hope that you will continue in this life of service that you commenced so many, many years ago and that you have now brought to a formal end in the context of the political process. But I'm pretty certain that you'll continue to serve the people of Nevis, and more specifically the people of your beloved St. Thomas's. And so, from all of us here on the Mark, we'd want to wish the Honorable Joseph Parry a happy retirement and wish him all the very best. He knew when it was time for him to go, and he has gone at a time of his choosing, and it is my hope that all of us will get that opportunity to leave at a time of our choosing and to move on, therefore, to new and different things. I have said it often, and many people perhaps have heard it but not digested it. But what I have said often is that all of life is a stage. That is what we are told by the famous playwright. We have our entrances and we have our exits. And what that says to us is that as sure as the sun will rise tomorrow, the stage will be there. And there will be people entering that stage and people exiting that stage. That is a natural course of life. The only issue, therefore, is what we do whilst we are on the stage. That is all that is relevant. Because when we are entering, it is time for us now to perform. And when we have exited, it means that our time to perform has ended. Some of us have to be pushed off the stage. Others walk off in a dignified manner. I believe Mr. Parry has made his contribution and has decided at the time of his choosing to walk off the stage in a dignified manner. And may we all have that privilege and that consciousness that we become ourselves aware of when the appropriate time might be for us to exit the stage and to leave the stage for others. Because as sure as night follows day, others will come and others will take the stage. And so all that we who are here now can do is to make our contribution and then to leave the stage to others. That is the nature of life, and there's no need for us sometimes to fret or to worry, because that is the nature of things. My father was Irving Brantley. He has gone now to the great beyond. May his soul rest in peace. It is therefore for me and his other children to take the stage that he would have left and to continue his name, his legacy, his contribution. And no doubt in time we too will leave the stage, and it will be for our children to continue. It is the natural process of life. And so we ought not to feel badly when we leave the stage to others. We are not to look back over our shoulder grudgingly or upset. We ought rather to look to our legacy and the contribution that we would have made and be focused on that, understanding that in the ordinary course of life, others will always come to take the stage. And if we understand that, then there ought to be no worry, no fret, no anxiety. I speak with a firm conviction of someone who now holds the title of Premier of Nevis. I have no illusions. I well understand the politics. And I understand that what is here today may be gone tomorrow, because we, all of us who are in this life called politics, exist at the will of the people. And it is to the people we turn who give us legitimacy through the ballot box. And it is the people who raise us up and take us down. In a democracy, the voice of the people is the voice of God. And so, for those who understand why they're here, what their purpose is, and the fact that however much we wish to stay forever, we must accept that our presence is transient. And if we accept that, then we don't get bogged down with the trappings, with the titles, and the honorific things that are granted unto us, because we recognize that all of that could be gone in an instant. What we must concern ourselves with is our performance while we are on stage, the contribution that we make whilst we're there. That is what we ought to concern ourselves with. And so I'm on the stage. You have put me there and my team since December of 2017. This past December 2019, we celebrated our second anniversary. We have, with the grace of God, another 3 years to go. It will be for you ultimately to judge whether we're doing a good job or not. It will be for you to judge ultimately whether you'll give us yet another chance when that 5-year term is done or not. In the interim, however, we have a federal election which looms. We know not yet the day nor the hour, but we know it is coming. And we must therefore prepare ourselves, gird our loins, and prepare for battle, because we understand that elections are a time when there are competing ideas and when there has to be a judgment that is made by you, the people, you, the electorate. In this regard, there's no need for hubris. There's no need for arrogance. There's only need for a sense of humility and a sense of service, and to allow the people ultimately to make that decision for themselves in free and fair elections as to who they wish to serve them in the capacity as their ministers, as their prime minister, the people who they have entrusted to run the country. We, the Concerned Citizens Movement, intend to field three candidates who are known and will be announced in short order. We hope to go to the people of number 9, my beloved constituency, number 10 and number 11, and to make the case to them that we are the best team to take Nevis forward as a constituent element of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We will make the case that we have done much, but we appreciate and understand that there is yet work to do, but that we, the Concerned Citizens Movement, are best equipped to undertake that work. We will make the case to the people of Nevis that, having given us 2 seats out of 3, that you ought now to give us all 3 seats to strengthen our hand, so that in Bastia the voice of Nevis is a united voice, a strong voice, and a voice that has to be listened to and respected. We shall say to the people of Nevis that only the Concerned Citizens Movement has demonstrated in word and in deed over all these years that it is entirely committed to the people of Nevis. It has never wavered. It has fought. It has fought for your right to vote, for your right to be on a voter's list when others sought to disenfranchise you. I well recall going to court and undertaking legal battles that others thought were impossible, and we made the impossible possible. We fought the necessary fight, not for ourselves, but for the people of our country. And now, as cases that we have done are cited as precedent, as the law to be followed, even in far distant lands, as they look for precedents of what ought to happen, it is right here in Little Nevis that the CCM, the Concerned Citizens Movement, stood and continues to stand. It is my hope that when the history of this small island and this country is written, that the Concerned Citizens Movement will loom large in that history, because it is a party with a very proud pedigree and a track record of service to the people. We will have an opportunity during the campaign to lay out our plans and programs. We will have an opportunity for you to look at what we have done so far, how we have sought to improve the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis, how through the advocacy of your representatives from Nevis in the federal cabinet, the people of Nevis have finally been able to get something from the relationship, something from the citizenship by investment flows, to access and assist in our development here on the island of Nevis. We will talk about the Nevisians now who occupy positions of authority, hitherto denied the people of Nevis. The fact that we now have ambassadors and others in the diplomatic corps, when this was a bastion that appeared to have been the preserve only of the people of St. Kitts, that has changed. We'll talk, no doubt, of the Nevisians who are now acting as Speaker of the National Assembly, as Supervisor of Elections, as Chairman of the Social Security Board. All of these new and novel ideas. Because yes, we did have a speaker at one point in the person of Mr. Bobby Liburd of blessed memory. But that was so long ago. So long ago. And it is only with this unity government and the role of the concerned citizens movement in that government that we have been able to extract for the island of Nevis and for the people of Nevis a semblance of their fair share of the resources of this country. And the CCM has a simple message that we have demonstrated what we can do, strengthen our hands so that we can do more. Allow us to finish the job that we have undertaken to do. Allow us to go to Bastia to provide the very best representation for the people of Nevis. And as we look around and we list all the accomplishments, as we look at the various projects, for you youngsters who go now and run on the Mondo track, for those who use it for exercise in the afternoons, consider that that is a result, a fruit of the efforts of your CCM on your behalf. I just received a note today to say that on the 28th of this month we will open the new Treasury building. And oh, what a joyous day that will be. We pray that God will allow us all to live to see that day. Because that old building was burnt to the ground. The Treasury building was burnt in what clearly was an effort to cripple what was then a new government, the CCM getting into office in 2013. That from the ashes, a magnificent edifice has arisen. And it has now come to a stage where we'll have that opening ceremony, God's willing, on the 28th of this month. And we trust and hope that the people of Nevis will see that as yet another symbol of the work and the effort that the CCM has put in on your behalf and made possible through the advocacy that we have brought to the table at the Federal Cabinet. We look at the pier at Wali, one of the finest bits of infrastructure to be done here, which is as a practical matter contributing immeasurably to the economic development of the island, as we see a boating industry developing with the water taxis, which are at present 100% owned by Nevisians and Nevisian businesses. That was an investment again made possible through the CCM agitation in Bastia on the behalf of the people of Nevis. We look at the airport. We look at improvements to the runway there. We look at the hospital that is now taking fine shape as we do the largest expansion in the history of the Alexandra Hospital. We look, ladies and gentlemen, at security equipment at the Long Point Port. We look at all of these initiatives that have been undertaken, and we say that all have come through the advocacy, the agitation, the representation of the concerned citizens movement, a party that has shown that it can and will continue to deliver. So when we come then to the people of number 10, and we come to the people of number 11, and we come to my beloved people of number 9, and we say to you, give us the seats, give us the strength, empower us so that we can go and represent you. Speaking with one voice, because nothing is worse in my experience than going to Bastia, having a CCM and an NRP. The CCM is advocating for the development of Nevis, is seeking Nevis's fair share, is agitating. And then we hear the voice of the NRP saying the complete opposite. Because we recognize that the internal and local politics of Nevis does not end as it should at the pier, but it goes over to St. Kitts. And we see these things happening. We say enough of that. Let the CCM, which has a proven track record, understanding that it has more work yet to do, understanding that it has the capacity and the people to do that work, strengthen our hand and send us to do that work for you. And we commit to the people of Nevis that we shall not disappoint. We have never disappointed, and we shall not disappoint. We will get to more of that election and election chatter. But let me, again at the top of the show, in what I have now famously referred to as my soliloquy, also extend my very warm regards to my dear friend Gonzalo, as I call him, the general manager of the Four Seasons Resort. Now, Gonzalo would have come to us via Mexico, although he tells me that he was born in Barcelona, in Spain. And he came at a very difficult period in time for the Four Seasons and for the island, because it was a time when the new owners of the Four Seasons had decided to undertake a massive renovation. That renovation led to the very difficult decision communicated to us in December of 2018 that the hotel would close for 4 months, the months of June, July, August, and September of 2019. It will be a matter for the historians to write about that particular period. But I believe that if people are fair, they will say that as a new government we were tested, but that we handled that test well. And that we were guided not by the chatter and the noise that is often the public square. Rather, we were guided by good sense, by prayer, and by the wisdom that comes through prayer from Jehovah God himself. Having said that, however, we also had a very strong and committed partner in Gonzalo, the general manager of the Four Seasons, and his team. And I will go on record tonight to say that he has never lied to me or misrepresented the position. Where there has been bad news, he has shared the bad news without sugarcoating it. And where there's been good news, he has shared the good news. And we developed an excellent rapport which allowed us to communicate from a position of trust and honesty. And as a consequence, when he said the Four Seasons would close, it did. And when he said it would reopen on a particular date, it did. Despite the naysayers, because we understand that the usual natural neighbors of extreme negativity, they're always out there. If you wake up and you say good morning to them, they find a reason to criticize, asking, why did you say good morning to me? And so tonight, I have learned that Mr. Gonzalo is leaving. Having done his time here and having completed his mission, which was to undertake and oversee the renovations, and having now overseen the reopening of a spanking brand new Four Seasons resort, which everybody's raving about. He's now taking his leave and will be leaving Nevis very shortly. I wanted tonight to publicly thank him for his contribution. I wanted to publicly express the government's appreciation to him and his team for the integrity with which they did what they did, for the trust that we were able to build up. And I want to wish him all the very best in his future endeavors. Gonzalo, my friend, if you're listening, Nevis will always be home for you. And we hope that despite where your travels and your new endeavors and your assignments may take you, that you will always come home to us from time to time. And so we want to wish you safe travels when you travel, and all the very best to you and your family on your next journey. We look forward, of course, to formally welcoming the new general manager, whom we advise is a woman from us, of us. She's from the U.S. Virgin Islands, born in St. Thomas, raised in St. Croix, but more importantly, has her family, I believe, on her mother's side from our sister island of St. Kitts. She represents the very first woman in the 30-year history of this hotel here who will take over as general manager, and the very first woman of color, and the very first Caribbean person, and the very first hometown girl, St. Kitts and Nevis, who will be taking over. And so we also, of course, look forward to some formal way to recognize and welcome the new manager Yvette Thomas, and look forward to having the same type of relationship with her as we did with Gonzalo, who she is replacing. And so we certainly look forward, ladies and gentlemen, to a new era now. The only thing that is constant, they say, is change. And so as change comes, we look forward to working with the new persons and to ensuring that the interests of the workers, the interests of the resort, the interests of the people of Nevis, and the economic expansion of Nevis, that those continue to be paramount in our minds and for our efforts. As I wrap up my introduction for my first show of the new year and of the new decade, let me also indicate that at the end of last year, I believe it was the 30th of December, we were able to sign off on the first tranche of funds for our small enterprise development unit, our so-called entrepreneurial fund, a fund to benefit youth 35 and under and women of any age. And the idea really was that these were the two demographics we thought we wanted to invest in, to see more businesses owned by women and more businesses owned by youth. CEDU, the Small Enterprise Development Unit, with their offices located at the Credit Union Complex, have been working very hard on ensuring that all the necessary policies, prescriptions, requirements are put in place. And I'm told that as of the 15th of January, they will start to receive applications. We are prepared to lend a maximum of $100,000 at a concessionary interest rate to make it easy for small businesses to get seed money to do their startup. And we, as I said, are focused on youth and women. And so if you're out there and you have a good business idea, you want some capital to get that business going, recognizing that these are clearly for micro and small businesses. You may not need 100,000, you may only need 25 or 10. But whatever it may be, we're asking that you put your ideas together, your business plan together, and the good people at CEDU will assist you. Now, as I emphasized when I signed the agreement, and I want to go on record tonight again to thank the government and people of Taiwan for making the funds available to us. But as I signed the agreement, I reminded the general public that these monies are by way of loan. And so when and if you're successful in borrowing monies from this fund, you are expected to repay those monies, because the idea is that by repayment we create a revolving fund where we help you today, you repay, and we can help someone else tomorrow. That is the idea. The fund is not a large fund, it is only $5 million. But we are hoping that we can see the impact of that in areas such as manufacturing, in the allied services for the tourism industry. We can see people coming to the fore with good ideas, new ideas, novel ideas. That we don't just see people coming with the same old, but our young people putting their creativity to work, our women putting their skills to work, can come forward, and that we hope in the next 5 years or so we can look back and say this was in fact a golden period for small and micro businesses on the island. A period when through government intervention we were able to bring people into the business community and to support and nurture those businesses to allow them to grow. And so this is an initiative, yet again, a campaign commitment made by this CCM-led government that I'm privileged at this point to lead. And so, ladies and gentlemen, commitment made, a commitment kept. And so as of the 15th, we hope that persons will avail themselves of the opportunity. Now, I recognize, because some people already started to call me and to tell me, oh, I want a loan from those funds. I want to tell you this is not about politics. This is about business. And that you, if you want a loan, will have to make a business case for that loan. Not that you owe some people and you need to pay them and this, and that is not what this is for. You will have to make a business case for the loan. You will have to create a plan so that those people at CEDU can see that you're serious about that which you say you will do. That this is not just about somebody feel I could get some money from the government. That is not what this is about. It's not just about somebody feeling I have some bills I need to pay. No. This is a genuine effort on our part to encourage small business ownership and development. And so we ask you out there who are serious to step up. This government is there to partner with you to make it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 25 minutes to the hour of 9 o'clock. This is our first show of the year 2020 and our first show of this decade. We are grateful to be here. We are happy that you've allowed us to be here for so long. And we commit to continue to be here. We will open the phone lines. The numbers have not changed. They continue to be 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. If you wish to call in and to say something, then we invite your calls now. Let's go straight to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Yes, good evening, Animat.
Good evening, my friend. Happy New Year.
And all the birthday season. And hopefully to see your birthday and many, many more. And to Mr. Parry, sympathy goes out to you. Because I had my cousin very dear on Monday. So sympathy goes out and how we feel about it. But God gives and He takes. And Mr. Emery and Chai, everybody have a blessed evening. Take care.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. And that's my dear friend here from St. Kitts, and so I want to wish you a happy new year. Let's stick with the telephones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Greetings, my beloved brother. Happy New Year to you and your family and the people of Nevis, and continue to do the great work, my beloved brother.
Happy New Year to you, my brother.
All prosperity, good health, and everything. And I want to see the trend, that Pan-African trend, under your stewardship continue, my beloved brother.
Thank you, brother.
And I want to see those embassies building East, West, North, South Africa, and Central Africa too, beloved brother, in the next term. All is well?
All is well. We have a bit of rain tonight in Nevis, but it's a beautiful night.
Well, that's good, man. The farmers need it, and people need it for all the, health issues and for drinking and everything. So that is good, beloved brother.
Good. All is well with you and family?
Yes,
Good.
beloved, yes.
I'm happy
all
to hear.
All is well, man.
All right. Okay, my brother.
All is well. So, brother, you take care. I continue to listen. And, my beloved brother, I'm looking forward, man, to you, beloved brother. Continue that Pan-African trend. Exchange a student. But I will elaborate more as the show, the year continues, beloved brother. Keep up the great works. Pan-Africanism our perish. One love, beloved.
All right. Thank you very much. We're taking your calls, ladies and gentlemen, at 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call. Let's go back to the phones. Okay, we've lost that caller. Let's try this one. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night, Mr. Good night.
Hi, good evening. You listen to the phone, not to your radio, please.
Okay, good night.
Good night to you.
This is Dumpling.
Hey, sweetheart, how are you? Happy New Year.
I'm looking for you all the time to wish you Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and may to you at all.
Yes, I stayed very close to Nevis and to the constituency during the season. So I didn't make it over for the carnival.
Oh, you ain't come over?
No.
Okay, I did tell Mr. Amory must tell you Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, but me, if he gets to see you.
Okay.
But I hear you just now and I said, let me call you.
Well, thank you very much. How are things with you?
Love you?
How are you doing? Okay, I think maybe I've lost you. All right. Well, we have someone else. She's still on the line. Let's go back to the phones then. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Honorable. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Marvelous. This is Miser here from the St. Paul Anglican Church.
Miser, how are you, brother?
Marvelous, man. Happy New Year to you, my brother.
Same to you. Same to you.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you for those people who made our boat ride, our fundraising boat ride to Montserrat a big success. Starting with you, of course, for giving us chance to be on your show a couple of weeks ago to promote the activity, to the Montreal government who allowed us the use of the boat, to Customs, Immigration and Ports who worked with us,
Yes.
to our brokers Connie and Sophia, and to all the sellers, and of course to our patrons, and for the understanding that we had to change the time for the return trip, and to God, of course, for making it a very safe trip indeed. And we say thank you to everyone who had a part in it, and we say look forward to another event later this year. Thank you very much, Mark. Good night.
All right, my brother. Well, thank you for thanking us, and we're happy that it was a success. I heard you had a full trip going, and I have heard only good things about it. Who knows, maybe next year I will take the opportunity to go with you. But I'm delighted that you had a good fundraiser and a good trip, all for a worthy cause. All right? Okay, we have anybody else holding? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the numbers to call are 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Now, today, Wednesdays are always the cabinet day for the Nevis Island administration, and today we had our first cabinet of the new year, and indeed the first cabinet of the decade. And so we thought it appropriate to invite a member of the church, of the clergy, to pray for us. And we had, of course, the amazing Reverend Tomlinson, who came, and she did a marvelous job. I want to publicly thank her for really lifting our spirits and putting things in perspective for us. I think she said during the prayer that, if we were to rely on God and His wisdom to guide us, that we would do well. And that is what certainly we'll do. I'm reminded that when I gave my acceptance speech, having been elected as Premier of Nevis, that I said that I would not ask for a long time in office or longevity. What I would ask for instead is wisdom. And I think that that is important, that we do not rely on our own understanding, but rather rely on guidance. And as she put it today, sometimes you get to a problem and you're not sure what the solution is. And those are the times, perhaps most importantly, that you rely on God's guidance. And so today we were delighted and blessed that she could come and pray for the cabinet. And I believe we are off to a good start. And we thank her for that. And I thank my cabinet colleagues for their unwavering support and commitment to this task that we have undertaken, a task to build the island of Nevis. And so this is what we are seeking to do. We are a cohesive unit. We are together. We are working together. And I believe that we will do good things for this island if only we continue to do what we need to do. This morning I had the opportunity as well on my way to work to go to the Charlestown Pier and to see their young Reggie Francis, who is of course doing the works there at Charlestown for us. It was a project that was delayed because we had some issues, of course, finding the financing. We were finally able to do so, and we're now seeking to implement that so that the damage that was done 2 years ago by hurricanes, that will finally be fixed. And we're putting in fact, a brand new pier. It's not just a question of fixing something, it's really creating something new. I would just like to thank Mr. Francis and the team, thank Mr. Brandy and the board at NASPA, thank the stakeholders for their patience. It's one of those things, that there was a lot of criticism. And the problem sometimes we have in our society, that criticism is easy. We can all do it. And a lot of people, that is their first line, that they criticize. You never hear the same people come back and say, well done. No. But they're always there to criticize. Anything that is bad or that they perceive to be bad, they are first in line. But whenever something good happens, they lose their speech. They are unable to give commendation. And I have seen some of the so-called pundits on this little island called Nevis say all kinds of things. I saw somebody drafted a whole epistle about me lying, saying there will be no pier, despite my assurances to the public that there will be. And I am far from perfect, ladies and gentlemen. I believe if my biblical account is accurate, that there were only two perfect men that ever graced this earth. It was the first man, Adam, and then Jesus. And I'm neither Adam nor Jesus, I'm Mark. So strong biblical name to be sure, but far from the perfection that God granted those two. And even Adam, a perfect man, ultimately sinned and fell short. So all of us are imperfect. All of us will make mistakes. There'll be times that misjudgments happen, that things don't always work the way they should. But one thing I've always committed to in my public life and in my interaction with my constituents and with the people of Nevis is that I will never lie to you. You don't have to light any candle to look for me. Because if something goes wrong, I'm someone who takes responsibility. And if I say that we are going to do the pier, and that the contract has been signed to do the pier, and that the pier is going to happen, then you can take it to the bank. And if, through some extraneous circumstances, the pier doesn't happen or doesn't happen within the time it should happen, you can be assured I will come back to you. We can only look at how, for example, the Four Seasons closure was handled. A lot of people are always talking about he shouldn't go and think and say this. I spoke to our people early, and I spoke to them often about the closure of the Four Seasons. And I believe that because of that forthright communication, people were better prepared. I had a lady come to my office the other day. A lady, she's from Tennessee in the United States. And she said to me that she was absolutely amazed at how this government had handled what could have been a crisis with the 4-month closure of the Four Seasons. And when I asked, what do you mean? She said she had never ever in her lifetime heard of a government that would write to the banks and the local financial houses asking for relief for the Four Seasons workers. So she had never heard of any such thing. And when she heard that we did it here, she was amazed. But that is what you do when you focus on people. You focus on representing people. Not representing yourself, but representing them and always being forthright and straightforward with them. Sometimes the answer is not what people might like to hear, but sometimes they have to hear something that they don't want to hear because it's the truth, or it's the right thing to say or the right thing to do. And that's what we have sought to do. So when I hear sometimes the noise that comes, and I have now in my older years developing a kind of deaf, I call it a deaf ear syndrome, because I can just switch off. So you hear the noise, but for me it's a bzzz, because I am not paying attention, because I know what it is. It's a distraction. Long epistle that I lied and no pier is going to come. But look, the pier is being done. It is being done. And yes, we've had some slippage in terms of the days. But as Mr. Francis explained to me today, because I went to get a first-hand look, he said, well, you know, we've had some swells, and when that happens, it makes it impossible for the barge to operate. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to say tonight that we are committed to Nevis and committed to the work that has to be done to make the lives of our people better. And along the way there'll be disappointments, and yes, along the way there'll be mistakes. But if I, Mark Anthony Graham Brantley, tell you that this is a position, you can be assured that it is not in my nature to lie to the people of Nevis. And if I represent something and it turns out not to be so, then I always come back and explain what could have gone wrong or what in fact went wrong. Because that's what a leader should do. My word should be my bond. And that is why I always say I don't make promises in politics, I make commitments. Because to me it's a stronger term. It says what we are committed to as an administration and as a people. Let's go back to the phones and see who might want to talk to us. No, I'm sorry, I missed that call. Callers, please, 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show. And for those of you just tuning in, it's now 10 minutes to the hour of 9 o'clock. We go until 10. The show is 8 to 10, 2 hours of commercial-free talk radio. And we go until 10. At 10, of course, the band strikes up. It means we have to go. But in the interim, we can take your calls at 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. For those just tuning in, you're listening to On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, welcoming you to the first edition of On the Mark for the new year and for the new decade. I also, of course, must tell you that if you're tuned in, you're listening to the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio, the voice of Nevis, www.vonradio.com or 860 on your AM dial. And we're told now that we're streaming beautifully online on Facebook page for VON Radio. And that's new technology. So you can now hear me and see me. You can now go back tomorrow and look at it again. Some say it is so nice they view it twice. In any event, the show for all these years has been rebroadcast every Thursday at 1 p.m. And so we welcome you, of course, for those just joining us, to another edition of On the Mark. We've been talking about many things. I want to commend the Culturama Committee, Culturama Secretariat, the Minister of Culture, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, because I believe it was yesterday or the day before, I saw online something that made me smile. An advertisement for Culturama 46. And the guys are out of the gate early, not making any joke. The band, they ain't even turn off yet from Sugar Mass in St. Kitts and Culturama we're talking about. And that is how it should be. And I believe that that proactive approach that we're seeing led to the most amazing Culturama 45. And I think that Culturama 46 is going to be even bigger and better. I also, of course, want to thank the good people of St. Kitts, all the revelers, all of those who enjoyed themselves over Carnival, that we had an incident-free Carnival. Kudos to the police and the security forces, but also to the people who had fun. I'm told it was a wonderful kaleidoscope of color and culture. And I congratulate all involved, all the winners and all the participants. Let's go back to the phones then and take this call. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to talk to the Right Honorable Mark Brantley. I'm a visiting expert from St. Kitts Nevis, born in St. Paul, and I would like to congratulate him, you know, of being our premier, and he's doing a good job. He's not a miracle worker, and he's doing a very good job. Congratulations. And I hope he does it for many more years. Okay? The young people want to get jobs, and I hope he'll be able to survive. One thing I want to stress, one man from America keeps ringing about my brother and Africanism. He's been away from this country for so many years, but yet he's ringing up every week, my brother and Africa. Tell him to go to Africa and see how they treat their own black African people over there, and then he'll see what it's like. We are trying here to be good, to be neighborly, and he's just telling us, oh, think of Africa. We are going to think about ourselves. Okay?
Okay.
So in the future, I hope he'll just keep his opinion to himself, come back and visit the island and see what we are doing, what our Honorable Mark Brantley is doing, and he's doing very well. For all the years I've been visiting, I've seen the progress in the last 2-3 years, and I'm very impressed. Okay?
Okay.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well. Thank you, and enjoy your time here with us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome
Bye-bye.
home. All right.
Bye-bye.
It's 5 minutes to the hour of 9 o'clock. Let's continue to take some calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
A pleasant good evening to you, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening, my brother. How are you?
And may I say Happy New Year to you and family and everybody in Nevis.
Happy New Year to you as well and your family.
I am very delighted to be here for the first time for the new year to have a little conversation with you,
Yes.
and hope that all progresses well for us on your side and our side. It's a joyous moment for me because I just celebrated my anniversary, my wedding anniversary yesterday. And, you know, sometime earlier, last month, it was the birth of my daughter.
Ah, congratulations.
Yeah, so we are celebrating I still have my package here for you. I thought I would have seen you during the Christmas, but I think I was too busy in my work area
Yes.
and probably we didn't cross.
Yes.
But like I've told you, I've extended the hand of courtesy to you, and you've reached out to me. So we are trying to see if we could bridge that gap. And with you, I know a lot of things are possible. I have too much confidence in you. So I am really looking forward to 2020, which is a vision, like I tell everybody we're looking at. And it's going to be a bright and prosperous future for us. So I want to wish you all the best. And I'll be on the mark for a very long time.
All right. Well, thank you very much, my brother. And when I hear you're busy, I feel good because it means that something good is happening. Congratulations to you and your lovely wife. And, of course, congratulations on the new baby as well. And may God bless you and continue to bless and be with you and your family, okay?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, good. Take care. Let's go back to the phones right away and take some more calls. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello? Okay, we missed that caller. Hello?
Good night.
Yes, you're on the mark. Go ahead.
Yes, good night. I want to go all around America, right? Nothing. Now. Aggressive. Healthcare. Right? Master human also. I'm not here. My wife. Myself.
All right, well, we're not hearing you properly at all. So perhaps you can call back in. I think we're probably getting a bit of a feedback or something there. But let's try again. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Hello?
Hello, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, my brother. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm just hoping that you have a successful 2020 and everything go well for the island of Nevis. I just wanted to inform people, a lot of people are looking forward to cricket. Right now we are in the process of upgrading the pitch. Duty Waters, our lead person there, that he are trying to upgrade the pitch by marking it out properly and getting some clear being laid there. Junior Duncan is doing the job with the cleaning and so. I want to tell people that all of us there at Hartine, we are just volunteering and for the community, and we all just want to see cricket being played there. So we have all come out and just trying to help the community be a better place. You know, all the schools them in Jindaland use the field for cricket, and it's good to see up until 6 o'clock tonight the schools them are using it for their practicing for their sport there and so on. And so it's good for us to help the community. And also Lemuel, Pemberton and Carlos will have a program every Saturday that they teach the young boys how to play cricket, and we have had some success stories. Some of them have made the Leeward Island under 15 and under 17. So it's just something that we are doing for the community, and we just want the community to be on board. Time as we get the pitch organized and fixed, maybe by the end of this month, maybe by early next month, we will get the BBPL league underway. So
Okay.
I just want to inform the general public here. If, people that see things going on and speculating, that is just what we are trying to do. We are just trying to upgrade the pitch there
Okay.
at our time.
All right, brother. Thanks for the update and thanks for your continued efforts in the community.
So much by the England touring team last year, and so we're expecting the match to be played sometime in March, April. And so, Mark, just have a good evening and continue doing the best for your country.
Okay, brother. All right, and you continue doing the same as well. I just got a note, my dear brother and friend Cecil Shark Farrell, there in the Virgin Islands, he has sent a note to indicate that he has lost a sister in New York. Her name is Lorraine Cole Johnson. She's from the Cox Coal Hill area. And so I would want to extend my condolences to him and also, of course, to Marilyn right there in Prospect, because I gather that she is also the sister of Marilyn, and so I would want to extend condolences to both Marilyn and to Cecil Farrell, better known to all of us as Shark, on the loss of their sister in New York. And so please accept our condolences For those who are mourning, those in New York, of course, Marilyn right here in Prospect and the family, Cecil in the Virgin Islands. And as I often say, it is my fervent hope that the prayers of the multitude will comfort you in your hour of bereavement. I did not know your sister, but certainly anybody who's a relative of Marilyn and a relative of Cecil is a relative to me. That is how close we are. And so I want to extend my deepest condolences. Ladies and gentlemen, you listen to On the Mark. It is now 9 o'clock. We have one more hour with you on this, our first show of the year and our first show of the decade. The numbers to call if you wish to be a part of the show, 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. It's an interesting time, as I was commenting before the calls came in, about the Carnival Sugar Mass celebrations, which I'm told went really well. Kudos and congratulations to the Honorable Sean Richards. He's the man charged with Carnival in St. Kitts, and of course the man Noah Mills, who has got a lot of attention and sometimes a lot of negative attention and a lot of criticism. But Noah is my kind of guy, because Noah just gets the job done. And oftentimes, despite the criticism, people come out at the end and say, it was really wonderful. And so Noah is an example of one of those who ignores the noise, who doesn't kick at every barking dog, and who gets the job done. And looking at the photos, I did not get over, as I said, but looking at the photos, I really believe that people had a great time. There's a big debate going on, of course, as to whether or not we're going to see more of that in Nevis for Culturama. Whether some of the big bands I'm hearing about, the Ultras and I can't remember all the names, the Red Devils and others, whether or not they would come over and be on the streets with us in Charlestown as well. Of course, we invite them to come. We would love to see them come and party on the streets of Nevis, just as they party on the streets in St. Kitts. We have, of course, now the bands from St. Kitts, the big bands coming over as well, the Grand Masters and Small Axe and New Vibes and all the big bands. They're on the streets here as well. And so we're inviting you from early to come over and be a part of here, have the parties and the fetes and the troops on the road, and really let us continue that bond that we're seeing. I saw so many individuals went to St. Kitts for Sugar Mass to be a part of the troops over there. And I really would like to see those kinds of numbers on the streets of Charlestown as well. I think last year Juve was the biggest Juve Nevis I'd ever seen. And that had a lot to do with our brothers and sisters from St. Kitts coming over and being a part of it. And that is how it works for Music Fest, for White Sands, the people of Nevis over in St. Kitts, in their numbers, and vice versa for Culturama. So let us continue in this vein. I think we are one country ultimately, and we can only be better if we continue to work together to support each other and to be there for each other. I see my good family Wazim Richards already has a big fete that he's promoting, and so he has really garnered a name for himself as someone who has really been out there doing fetes. We now have, of course, the beautiful venue here in town, which is the Cultural Village. Very nicely done, tailor-made, custom-made for fetes and for parties. I continue to invite promoters to come in and to use the facility. And then, of course, the Honorable Eric Evelyn has delivered a wonderful facility in Gingerland as well, at the heart of Market Shop. And that David Freeman Center of Excellence is some place where we also feel that promoters, local promoters and other promoters can come and have good fetes there, good sessions, and bring some nightlife back to the people of Nevis. And so the government is doing its part, but of course, you know, the business entrepreneurs, the people out there, you're the ones who have to step up and really bring the artists and bring the bands and bring the entertainment. And so I go back to where I started with Abernathy and Minister Evelyn and the entire team to say I was very impressed that early out of the gates, yesterday, January morning, I see them put out already ads for Culturama 46. And that, I think, is the way it ought to go. So I really want to see our young people engaged, our people engaged. This is our culture, it's our thing. And I hope that all of St. Kitts and Nevis involves themselves in it, and that we make it greater each and every year. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now 5 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. We are going to take your calls at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show. Of course, we have at the top of the show spoken about the retirement of the Honorable Joseph Parry, who has stepped down from the leadership of the Nevis Reformation Party and has now stepped down from his representative politics as the the elected representative of the good people of the parish of St. Thomas. Now, what that will mean constitutionally is that we'll have to have an election in that parish, in that constituency. You would recall, of course, that in 2007 we had the tragic and sudden passing of the Honorable Malcolm Gishard. The late, great Earl Malcolm Gishard passed away suddenly one morning. He had gone for his morning swim. And just so, that death precipitated and required under the Constitution a by-election. I was able to go on to win that by-election in my very first election. To God be the glory. And it is then, I believe, that the people of Number 9 decided to lend me their support and to invest in me. And I trust that I have not let them down. I have continued to go to them, and they've continued to abide with me, and I thank them for their trust and their confidence. That was since 2007. I would have gone back in 2010. I would have gone back in 2011. And I believe, were it not for that big black fox in the Cox box, we would have prevailed then. But we went to the court, and the court ruled that the election in 2011 was null and void. And we went back to the polls in 2013 and won handsomely. Went back in 2015, won handsomely. Went back in 2017, won handsomely. And so the people have consistently said that I and the CCM team, these are the people that they prefer to lead them at this time. And I'm grateful for that, and for that investment of their time, their love, their confidence in us. We're truly grateful. So we would have had a precedent of a by-election in 2007, and here we have it again. Because with Mr. Parry vacating the seat, it will mean that we'll have, under the Constitution, to call a by-election within 90 days. That is the time frame. And so the people of the good parish of St. Thomas will, at some point during the next 90 days, be asked to elect their next representative. The Concerned Citizens Movement hopes, of course, that you'll give us a look, you'll give us a try, you'll give our candidate an opportunity, and we will no doubt say more about that in the coming days and weeks. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
My premier, good night.
Good night to you, my dear friend. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you and the cabinet.
Thank you.
And all the best for 2020. I watch up on TV and I still listen up on radio. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you very much. And I pray that God will bless you for the new year and that you will continue in good health. I was very happy to see you, although it was only brief, over the Christmas period, and I certainly look forward to seeing you some more. As I said, I did stay close to my constituents and constituency during the Christmas period. We had a wonderful party up in the Beach Road area. I want to publicly thank the Honorable Troy Liebert and the team that he has that really put together a marvelous, marvelous session. I saw people coming, enjoying themselves, fraternizing and socializing with each other. That's what it's about. It's Christmas. And everybody got together. People came from far and wide and were there at our annual party in Bompasture, we call it. But really, this year we went up on the field there at Beach Road. And so it really went well. Safe environment, and the Honorable Troy Liebert and the guys them did a wonderful job. I want to thank them. We have had a number of little things in Government Road. We're going to have a little thing in Bath Village, the guys tell me on Friday. I had my domino tournament, my usual Christmas domino tournament in Bath. I want to congratulate, of course, the Myers brothers. They walked away with the championship for the first time this year. And I want to congratulate all of those who were involved with it. I mean, my good friend Alfred and his son Eto, they placed second. I believe third place went to Joe and Zulu, and fourth place. Who is fourth place now? I'm losing out now in terms of fourth place. Fourth place might have been another duo. I think the two Eddies, Eddie the Calypsonian, and Eddie the Grillman. That's how I would put them. But Eddie, of course, Eddie Richards, and my good friend from Brownhill, Edison, who also sings Calypso each year and is part and parcel of what we do. I am really happy that we were able to have that domino tournament. I think it went really well. And this year, you know, of course, the joke over there was that Zulu wins the money every year. This year he did not win the money, and so the fellas say I should give him a bonus for knocking out Zulu, because you know each year before the tournament start, I used to write the check already to Zulu, pay to Zulu the money, and each year he laugh and boast say he's spending my money. So this year around, you know, the fellas then were able to knock him out, and so the championship went to the Myers brothers. I want to congratulate them. Let me go back to the phones though. It's 10 past and take another call. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Premier. How are you doing,
Good
sir?
evening. Good evening, my brother. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. I just wanted to lend my voice to your first On the Mark program
Yes.
for the year and for the decade. And I just want to add my voice in saying a very happy and healthy and productive and prosperous and successful 2020 to all of us on this beautiful island of Nevis. I really want to say thanks again to all of my constituents, all who have been a part of my ministry for the great job they did for last year. Of course, we would have had our challenges last year, but I think we had a pretty successful year in terms of my ministry. And I really want to thank all those who are involved, all of the stakeholders, and I want to thank the good people of my constituency for their continued support. And we look forward to continued great things in 2020. So I just want to say a very happy and healthy new year to all. And I want as well, Mr. Premier, to congratulate you and to congratulate our team, the Concerned Citizens Movement team, for doing what I would say was a marvelous job in 2019. I think all of us would know the challenges that we went through, the rough waters that we went through, but with your keen and astute leadership and with a fabulous team working with you, we were able to navigate the waters and come out on top. And because of that, we will continue to come out on top. I don't think anybody could have any doubt in their minds that we are by far the best team that could ever lead this island of Nevis. And I think we are doing a good job, and we're going to continue to move the country in the right direction.
Yes.
And so I really want to wish all of us well, the entire cabinet, and all of us in Nevis, our friends and relatives abroad, the entire federation. I hope this will be a wonderful and successful year for all of us.
Yes. Well, Minister Evelyn, my brother, my cousin, my friend, I want to thank you as well. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the fabulous job that you have been doing. I believe that the Culture Armor 45 was a high point for 2019. And then, of course, we ended the year with another high point with the Center of Excellence there, named for the famous Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
And I believe that the people have seen the commitment, the people have seen our desire to work. And so I'm delighted to have you on the team, and long may it be so. And I am getting ready now, as I say, to announce in due course our team for the federal election. And I'm hopeful that the people of Nevis will find that we have again presented to them the best possible team to move Nevis forward. So thank you for that, and I wish you, of course, a happy new year as well. I was saying earlier that I thought we got off on a good foot today.
Yes,
by having
indeed.
the good Reverend Tomlinson.
We had a wonderful cabinet meeting today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. So look forward to that and continue working together and working hard to serve the people. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
Okay, excellent. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
My Premier.
Yes, good evening.
Tell Mr. Evelyn that God had you steering that ship, and you steered that ship, and it was well steered, and God carry you through, and He gonna carry you through again, because you know your job. Have a good night.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that, and you're absolutely correct, because there were times when the way was dark and we weren't sure how things were going to work out. But as you said, God was in our presence, and we turned to Him for guidance. There were times when it was pretty rough. I want to commend as well, because sometimes it's not just us but a team, and people like Colin Dorr, the permanent secretary, because he managed the flow of the scarce government funds during that period very effectively, and we were able to pay our bills. We didn't default on any loans, we didn't default on any payments, and despite, again, the fake news that was out there that we weren't servicing our loans, I can say to the public that all of our loans and all of our commitments were properly serviced, as we, of course, prepared ourselves for a difficult year and navigated turbulent waters. But that is what you, the people, do. And when you vote, you elect people, and you know that there will be bad times sometimes, but you want people who are steady, not people who are erratic, people given to emotional outbursts. You want people who are steady. And during this difficult 2019, we had to be steady. And I think that we sent a good signal that despite our youth and relative inexperience as a team, that we were able to deliver and deliver in a tangible way for the people of Nevis. And despite the hardship and the difficulty, I encourage all who can to go down and have a look at the Four Seasons now. It's absolutely spectacular what they've done. And the staff there, when I go there now, they're so proud, they're so pleased that their hotel is now back on top as one of the top places in the region. And that is what we've been seeking to do. And I assure you we're not done yet. There's more to come. Let's go back to the phones. It's 1:15 the hour. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Mr. Brantley, good evening.
Good evening to you, brother. I haven't heard this voice in a while. How are you?
I am doing pretty okay.
Happy New Year to you.
Yes, same to you, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Brantley, as the minister responsible for civil aviation, I don't know if you guys can, this is something that I think you guys need to look at. Along with, I think Minister Patches Library is responsible for transport, right? It includes air transport also, right? Or
Well, Mr. Liebert in Sinkis is charged with SCASPA, which is the AN Seaport Management Authority. So they manage the seaport and they manage also the RLB.
yeah, right. It is concerning the tickets on some of the ticket guidelines that some of these airlines have on customers, right? No, something you book a flight to go somewhere. Sometimes it might be because of circumstances you might have to cancel. Well, I totally agree. I don't believe in them refunding people. I totally agree, that they can owe you money, you travel the next time. But what I have a problem with is like if I go in, let us say, to Puerto Rico. I don't know if it is all airline, but I am speaking about a particular airline. I wouldn't want to call the name on the radio. So it's not all the airlines that I'm really, I don't know if all of them have the same policy. Now, if I decide to travel on the 15th of January, and for some reason I cannot go anymore, I have to pay a certain amount of money, which is very big money, to reschedule my flight. But what is very sickening, you have to reschedule, you have to pay also to reschedule your flight in terms of coming back also. You understand? And I think as a federal government, this is something that you all need to sit down in cabinet and look at.
But when you say look at it, what is it you want the government to do? Because that is a contract between you and the airline.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, Mr. Brantley, I know that, yes, the airlines, they have procedures, right? But even though sometimes we know something is so, right? Okay, let me give you I booked to go at a particular country. I had to cancel at the last minute because of circumstances. They tell me I have to pay $110 for the cancellation, going, and another $110 in terms of coming back on the 2 new dates, going and coming. Right? I don't have a problem there, but why so much of money? And why so much of money? I understand. Yes, you're going to incur debt, doing stuff, in terms of people booking. I mean, as I said, I don't looking for them to refund you any money. And another thing they don't want to do, you can change the ticket into somebody else's name. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that too. But the cancellation fee, to me, they are too high.
Yeah, but what I'm
Yes,
trying to say, caller, is that these are not matters that governments would normally regulate. So you call on me as the Minister of Aviation, you call on the Minister responsible for SCASPA. We have particular remits, but questions such as the cost to cancel a ticket and those are particular airlines and will vary from airline to airline. That is why people shop around to get the best deal and to deal with an airline that they're most comfortable with.
But sometimes there's a particular country where that only airline goes to.
Well, that happens on occasions as well, but
I agree with you, you can shop around, but what about when, you know, you're going to a particular country and it's only a set airline is going to that country?
right. Well,
Right.
and I suppose in those circumstances, those
Well, I
airlines may
agree
take
with you,
advantage.
right?
of
But
it.
what I'm trying to say, when I mean, yes, some people say, well, oh, you agree to all the terms and agreements and blah blah blah. You understand? But I think they need to be a little bit more moderate with the customers. And you see, sometimes that is why you see people are not flying. But sometimes you're forced to fly, right? And they got to understand sometimes it might be some sort of circumstances that causes you to cancel at the last minute. I understand. You don't expect if you buy a ticket for $2,000, I don't expect if you cancel, the people must give you back your money because, for the days you've been holding that seat, somebody else could have gone with that seat. I agree with, I don't looking for them to reimburse you. What I think they should have been a little bit more moderate with customers. And one other thing though, sometimes you cancel, and you might say, well, okay, I'm going to travel at another date. But sometimes you can come up with another date at the same time, and they're giving you a time also. If you don't come up with another date, you have to pay another $110.
Yeah, but again, I'm asking, what is it you would want of the government to do?
Well, if government can negotiate with them and say, well, okay, this is too much on the. I understand you said, Yali don't, he's not responsible for pricing the tickets and so, right? But, I'll have a meeting with them. Let them know, come on, don't go so hard on the people, you understand? Because sometimes circumstances do raise its ugly head at times.
All right. Well, all right, caller, I hear you. It would, as I said, be outside the usual rubric of what we do and what our ministries do. But I understand the point you're making.
I understand some people might say, "Oh, you must read the fine print." Yes, I agree. I agree with mine. Is not that I don't agree with the terms and these things, but the fees them sometimes is too heavy. The penalty fees is too heavy. I understand the terms of agreement.
Okay.
That is what I'm looking at.
All right. Okay, brother. Got you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, all right.
All right. We have anybody else holding? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the numbers to call are 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. The first show of the new year, the first show of the new decade. This is On the Mark with your host, Mark Brantley. And we're here every Wednesday from 8 to 10. And we are thankful that this is now our 14th year. So going into our 14th year of this show. Not many shows, I believe, have lasted that long. And the fact that people have put up with me for all these years, I'm really, truly grateful. People still call, the show still has some relevance, and we are thankful for that. To the last call, I understand your anxiety and understand your frustration. I certainly will have a conversation to see what can be done, although I do say at the outset that that is not normally within the rubric and remit of what we do in terms of our various ministries. When people go and they contract with an airline to travel with an airline, it is a matter between them and the airline. My job in aviation is to ensure that that airline is safe and that all the safety protocols that are required by law and by international requirements, that those are met, that our airport is safe, that the dealings and conduct of our security officers or screening processes are in accordance with international standards, and that flights that are coming in are fit for purpose and safe, so as to ensure that when you get on the flight, that you travel safely. I believe that the airport authority now, they control the airport. They deal with things like security and providing all of the necessary infrastructure, the tarmac, the runway, the tower, to ensure that the airlines function in a particular way. The question of what airlines charge, how much they charge, what their penalty fees might be, their change fees, etc., well, that is not normally within our remit. And I think that when these things happen, the ordinary course is for the market to take care of that. So because people shop around, they go from airline to airline. I do understand what you're saying, that insofar as this particular scenario that you've painted, it's only one plane going there. But that is the normal course, that we do not get involved in that level of activity. I see it all the time because, you know, I see people complain sometimes. They say the cost of living is too high. Price on food is too high. And so they say certain things, and then they turn on the government and say, why is the government not bringing down the cost? And again, I say to them that, you know, consumer affairs, price control, people seem to feel that the government should be able to tell TDC how much to sell a car for, how much to sell a stove for, tell Rams how much to sell their corned beef for, their cornflakes for, etc. And I'm trying to point out to people that those are market-driven scenarios. That if TDC car is too expensive, try Hosford's. If Hosford's fridge is too expensive, try TDC or Coates. Those are things that the market is intended, and you ought to be able to shop. If Rams corned beef is too expensive, try Best Buy. If Best Buy too expensive, then you go to what's it called, Value Mart. That is the idea. The idea that the government can dictate and say, well, price of beef must be $5, price of cornflakes must be $10. I think that that is not the way that a free market economy works. What the government does get involved in is what we call a basic basket of food items, and that has in things like milk and flour and sugar and those kinds of things. That's what the government seeks to regulate. But beyond that, we look to the market to regulate pricing. So if somebody has, I see people complain all the time and say, oh, imagine this is at the one supermarket for $10 and it's at the other for $18, and then they blame the government. No. If you don't buy the one for $18, pretty soon they'll get the message and they will put it at a price that is more competitive. The idea is that you ought to vote with your dollar. You ought to vote, you know, with your feet, so to speak, and go and shop where you get the best deals. But if they've moved the price from $10 to $18 and you just go and buy it and then cost the government, then certainly the merchant isn't losing anything there. So I think that you know, we need to understand the role of government. And our role is a regulatory one to ensure, in the context of the aviation, that it's safe. Let's go back to the phones. It is just about 9:30. Good evening, you're on the mark. Yes.
I understand exactly what you're saying, but
yes.
You are making some points and you use a supermarket.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, they have price control in syndicates, because if the price control, if the controlled price for a box of cornflakes is $10, and the supermarket is selling it for $20, I think that the relevant ministry is supposed to take some action.
But what action is the ministry to take? If the ministry were to take action, you realize?
Well, they take them to court because they're selling above the price.
No, but that's the point I'm making. That if we were to engage in that, then you no longer have a free market economy.
Because you cannot allow your people to be exploited.
But why do
you have to look at that on the other hand?
Yeah, but I hear you. But I'm saying in a free market economy, it is not a question of people being exploited. It's a question of people deciding, I will not buy it at that price point, and therefore forcing the price down. Or,
yeah, but sometimes, sometimes, Mr. Brand, sometimes, let me use the conflicts as a scenario again. Sometimes the government control price might be $10. One might be selling it for $20. One might be selling it for $16. One might be selling it for $14. So you're still, they are still breaching the law.
No, but what I'm saying, you say control price. You only have control prices on goods that are subject.
No, I am just using the conflict.
But I'm simply saying, but that's my point, because it is not all food items or all goods that have any control on them.
I understand that.
So that the point you're making would only have relevance if the item falls within the basket of goods that is controlled. And that's why I said tends to be the basics.
Just only the other day, I heard the shareholder governments, I think it's one of the government, they're saying they're going to look into to see how best they can bring down the price for the tickets them. So something, you can have a conversation and see what can be done. I heard the Prime Minister of Antigua, Gaston Brown.
Yeah,
So sometimes you know, sometimes you must have a little discussion to see what you can do to assist the customer.
yeah, but call again. Let us not confuse issues. Prime Minister Brown, you hear what you said? The stakeholder governments, the shareholder governments. They own the shares in Liat, so they clearly can have an influence in terms of what Liat is charging. They own Liat. Sinkers
Yes, I understand that.
Nevis has no
But when
stake in
people come
Liat.
to invest in your country, right? You cannot allow people to come and invest in your country, whatever company or institution, and try to exploit your people.
No, I hear
Government
that,
has
but
to take steps
I
to avoid
understand,
that.
but you also have to appreciate that in a free market economy, well, the government going to go in the supermarket and every single item going to say you cannot sell higher than that.
No.
We're going to go to
No, I'm not
courts,
saying that.
and every fridge, every stove, every TV, we're going to say this is what, because we're going to go now to the mason and the carpenter and say you cannot sell your service for more than that. Well, then you're no longer a free market economy.
Yeah, but sometimes government too. Sometimes government too is actually forcing these companies to do these things, with some of the high taxes, because I think this is one of the cry that has been people have been crying out in the Caribbean, because Liat is claiming that their tickets are very cheap, but it's the taxes that put on the various governments throughout the Caribbean.
Yes. And I think that is accurate, and in Sinkers Nevis the taxes are high.
All right, all right. I just raised it with you, and
Right.
to see what,
Right. Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
man, yes.
I think that you've made some fair points, but again, I'd like to try for our people to understand the limits on governmental authority and power. And we have a culture, and I'm not saying you, caller, specifically, I'm speaking broadly now. We have a culture, I think, where people feel that the government should be able to do everything. I've had people call me, for example, and say, I need a job at Four Seasons. Could you call him and get me a job down there? I need a job at TDC. Could you call him and get me a job down there? People genuinely feel that as the Premier Nevis, I could pick up the phone and say, listen, I'm sending down Tom now to TDC, get him a job there. So a lot of times we have to understand and help to educate each other about the limits of what governments are supposed to do. If I had my way, government would do as little as possible. What I mean by that is that government will interfere as little as possible, create the framework, and let the private sector do the rest. Because the government has the capacity to do things like build roads and bridges and things. The private sector is far better able at delivering services, ensuring that the trains and the buses run on time. And so we have to understand, because you see, people say, oh, the price of this is too high. The price of that is too high. This supermarket have it for that. But if, taking the example of cornflakes, if one supermarket have cornflakes for 14, one have it for 18, and one have it for 22. I bet you if people decided to shop at the one that was cheapest and give them all the business, the other two would bring down their price. But what I find with our people is everybody assumes that it is the government's responsibility and that the government can dictate what price everything is sold at, who gets this job or that job, what they charge for it. And I think we need to appreciate that in a free market economy, as we practice it, that the level of government intervention, let me tell you now, the main role of consumer affairs? The main role of consumer affairs is to ensure that the goods, the food and stuff is safe. That you're not selling expired food and food that has been dumped here and stuff like that. That's the main role. Price control comes into effect on controlled goods. Goods that fall into that basket, as I said, the examples are like tin, milk, flour, sugar, those kinds of things. But the vast basket of things that people shop for here and people buy. I hear people making noise about corned beef. Oh, this corned beef here too expensive, and blame the government. That's not the way it works. And I think that we need to appreciate that the government's role is a regulatory role in the sense of safety, making sure the food that you're getting is of a particular quality, does not cause any harm. Vegetables coming in are not laden with pesticides and things like that. That's the government's role. The price point at which something is sold becomes a market-driven issue. And I think that our people sometimes need to recognize that. And as I said, vote with their pocketbook. And decide that if the cornflakes is $22 here, not buying it. Or going on the road where it's 14. So that's the thing. The point about the airlines, I think, is slightly different because I think it is legitimate. And I think around the region, it has been said for some time that the taxes on airline tickets are too high. And one of the proposals I've heard is to have kind of moved to a flat tax for travel within the region, and then maybe a higher tax for travel from outside the region. So that if you're going to New York, you pay more. But if you're traveling to Antigua or Trinidad, you pay less in terms of the taxes. That might be a solution. That we have one tier for intra-regional travel and a second higher tier for travel outside the region. And my hope would be that ultimately we, starting perhaps within the OECS and with LIAT, can get it right because the taxes vary. And LIAT is right because sometimes the LIAT ticket is 100 and something US dollars. But by the time the taxes go on, the ticket gone up to $300, $350. The taxes sometimes are more than the ticket. So in that regard, Carl, I won't argue with you. I think it's something that we must look at to see what changes can be made in that regard. And that, I think, would affect the price of intra-regional travel with a view to reducing it so that more people would travel. So, legitimate point, I take it entirely. Ladies and gentlemen, we have about 24 or so minutes left. We're inviting your calls on 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Remember, you only have the first show once, and it's the first show of the year and the first show of the decade. So you ought to call in if you want your voice to be a part of that record, because we have a record here of all that would have been said on the air, on this show, over the last 14 years. And so we would hope that you would call in and be part of tonight's historic show because, as I said, of the fact that it's the first of the year and the first of the decade. For those just tuning in, my name is Mark Brantley. You're listening to On the Mark. And we are here every Wednesday with what we call Straight Talk Across the Narrows, a conversation with you about matters which impact us all. This show has been going now for just about 14 years. We're going into our 14th year, and we're thankful that you have continued to stay with us. If you've just tuned in, it must mean that you're listening to the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio, the voice of Nevis, www.vonradio.com or 860 on your AM dial. We're thankful to be here. We're thankful that God has blessed us with a new year with health and strength. And certainly, we look forward to continuing this dialogue and this conversation with you in the weeks, months, and years ahead. Let's go back to the phones. It is 23 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Long time I haven't called in, but I want to wish you and everyone listening a happy new year and all the best to the CCM party, the upcoming election, all three for we. And
yes.
I'd also like to take, on a sad note, this opportunity to offer my condolences to Mr. Perry on the loss of his wife.
Yes.
We used to have very good conversations whenever we met, and I will miss those conversations. So to Mr. Perry, my condolences. And Happy New Year to everyone, especially my CCM family.
Thank you very much, and I want to return the same happy returns to you and your family. I wish you God's grace, strength, mercies, and blessings for this year and the years ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Okay.
And I know that I will listen again because I've been listening online and it's coming and going. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. It happens sometimes, but we hope that the streaming gets better as we go. And in the event that you missed it, then you can listen tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. We have 20 minutes left, ladies and gentlemen. We're taking your calls at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. We had my brother there, Nabu, calling from the U.S. He normally calls in. I assume he's calling from New York as usual. I don't know if he's still in St. Kitts, if he came down for Sugar Mass. But certainly I want to get a sense of what the weather might be like in Canada and in the United States at this point. I wasn't going to touch on it, but since we have a few minutes and the phones aren't ringing at this point in time, we have, of course, been standing by as bystanders and witnesses at the escalation between the United States and Iran. The United States took a decision to assassinate an Iranian general, Soleimani, I think his name is, and there has been an outpouring of rage in Iran and in other parts of the Middle East, and vows to take revenge. Well, last night, Iran fired ballistic missiles at 2 U.S. bases in Iraq. Apparently there were no deaths, and it appears minimal damage, although I gather the Iranian press is reporting that there were 80 deaths. The U.S. press is saying there were no deaths. And so we are grateful that there was no loss of life. We have now heard the President Trump, President of the United States, talking about de-escalation and suggesting that perhaps it is time for diplomacy. I am myself hopeful. I believe the rest of us ought to be also hopeful that diplomacy will be given an opportunity to work. Diplomacy is always preferable to war and conflict. Wars might make some people rich, but I tell you, they cost immeasurably in terms of lives, particularly of poor people. A lot of these youngsters who are sent to the front lines to fight in these wars are poor people. They come from poor families in the United States, poor black people, poor Puerto Ricans, poor Hispanics, poor white people. And they go off to war at 18 and 19, some of them never to come home, or to come home traumatized, come home damaged, losing limbs, losing their minds in some cases. It is a difficult proposition to send people's children into war, send them into harm's way, where they may die. And sometimes one wonders, for what? For what? We hear the saber rattling, we see the saber rattling, and sometimes we wonder, to what end? How does it make us safer? And so I pray for 2020 that good sense may prevail and that we may have peace among all men, among Christians and Muslims, among Jews and Gentiles. We will have peace, because only in an atmosphere of peace can we realize the human potential. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
Happy New Year to you and the family.
Happy New Year to you again, my brother.
Mr. Brantley, the America, every one step forward they make in the Middle East, they're going to make 2 steps backwards. Because you see, they support one group of people and hate one other group. The 4 countries that don't get along with America, they take it personal, which is Iraq, Iran, Libya, and Syria. They are no worse than Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Bahrain, and other countries. But they are their friends. They could do anything. And then they get away with it. And also Israel. They get away with it. But these 4 countries that...
Which are the 4 again? Tell us.
Huh?
Which are the 4 you say?
That they pick on all the time. Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Libya.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 4 countries, because why? They speak up for the Palestinians. They are not afraid to speak up for the... And they don't choose America to be their friend. And they seem to take it personal. But Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Israel, Bahrain. Bahrain have a 20% Sunni, ruling 80% shares.
Mm-hmm.
And demonstration. This is in Barack Obama time. The demonstrators were beaten up by the police and security guards, and the doctors and nurses that took care of them was put in prison. And you didn't hear nobody in Obama cabinet, nobody say anything about it. It was CNN and BBC that brought the news. But if that had happened with any of those 4 countries that I named that didn't get along with America, you would hear the outcry. Now, Trump didn't like the agreement that Obama made with Iran for the United Nations. France, America, Russia, China, and Germany, and America signed up to it. If you don't like it, you don't just
rip it up and then put more sanction on. You said to Iran, I think we could make some improvement or adjustment.
Yes.
Let us talk and leave the sanction where they are. And then if they don't agree, then you start putting on sanction bit by bit. But you don't just rip away from it and then expect everything to be cool. And that is why, and then when the Europeans who sign up try to help, he sanctioned them, threatened them. So what do you want Iran to do? Mr. Bradley, this thing didn't just start with Iran, you know. You hear people talking about 1979 with the revolution when they overthrew the government. It started 26 years before. In 1953, the American and the British undercover CIA and MI5 overthrew a government that was elected legally. The reason why, because they were friendly with the Soviet Union. And they was afraid that the Soviet Union was going to ask them to stop selling oil to them. And they overthrew the government and put the Shah, you hear about the Shah of Iran?
Of course.
They put him in power. And then after so much ill treatment to the people, then the revolution came in 1979. So you always hear them talk about Iran had our people for 444 days, 52 people. But it was them who started all the way back in 1953. And then there was no Ayatollah in those days. It's after the revolution they had the Ayatollah. He didn't make the final decision before. They brought him back he went, after the overthrow, after they put the Shah in, they took him away in France. And then he came back in 1979 and make him supreme leader. But he is dead now. There's another one. The one there now, he's the one. But the first one died after he came back from France.
Yes.
So you see this thing been going on and on with Iran. Just because they want to be independent and they do not want to be bothered. But you see, there's a lot more, but I don't want to take up no more time. So
well, it is a difficult issue. My concern about it is that the escalation.
Yeah.
We should not feel that here in St. Nevis we are somehow immune from it. Because, for example, oil prices can spike. And we know what that can do to our cost of electricity, or cost of transportation, or cost of food even.
Yeah.
So we have to be very mindful. And then, of course, there could be risks of terrorist attacks globally. And we have our people all across the four corners of the world, in major cities, in western cities, which tend to be targets for these types of attacks. So we have to be mindful. All of our family in New York and Miami and LA, we have to be mindful. And so I think that our people need to be engaged and to inform themselves about what is happening in the world, and not treat it as if you're having nothing to do with us.
You see the people talk about democracy. Those countries, they could never be democracy because they are different tribes. Some are majority Sunnis, some majority Shias, and the Kurds, which is always the minority in all the countries. So when one in power, the other one rise up. So there could never be any democracy as they're talking about. They just talk about democracy because they want to get rid of the person who is in power.
But, you know, you raise an interesting point, caller, because just the other day we had a discussion. You tend to have sometimes an intellectual discussion where you spar in terms of determining what is the best course. And the question was raised, is this thing called democracy really a formula for every country? Does it work for every country? And it was interesting because the West, the United States and Canada and the UK and stuff have said that democracy is the only way.
Not over there.
But when Saddam Hussein, as bad as he was said to be, was in charge of Iraq, Iraq was stable.
That's another point.
When Muammar Gaddafi was in charge of Libya, Libya was stable. When General Tito was in charge of Yugoslavia, Yugoslavia was stable. When he was no longer there, you see it degenerated into civil war and now has broken up into 4 or 5 different countries.
The same thing in Libya.
Libya, same thing. So
and Iraq
you know,
and Afghanistan.
So the question that the discussion we're having, the question that someone asked, is it correct for the Western world to say to these ancient civilizations, because they've had their own systems and their own forms of government for centuries, do you say to them that democracy is the only way?
Not over there.
And if you are not willing to accept it, we will impose it upon you. Right?
You can't.
And that is the thing, because we have seen what the result is. When Saddam left, Iraq disintegrated into chaos.
Yeah.
When Gaddafi was deposed, Libya disintegrated into chaos. Afghanistan continues to be problematic.
Let me put in this one point.
Yes.
The money, they just tell me $1, 1 minute left. The people that in power now, is Iran who took care of them. They were hiding from Saddam Hussein, the Shias.
Mm-hmm.
Saddam Hussein, the Iranian who take care of them. These countries been close together for years. But Saddam Hussein was a Sunni, and the majority people in
Iran,
they're Shias. So they didn't get along. But after he went, the people came back to Iraq because Saddam Hussein was gone. So they're supposed to get along together. But America don't want them to split up and they join together.
Well,
just like how they manage to break.
Well, I think we're going to have to continue to monitor call. I was enjoying the conversation. I'm sorry your credit has run out. But certainly I think that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, the people of the Caribbean, we must monitor very carefully these developments. We tend to adopt a posture that they don't have anything to do with us. But in fact, they can affect us in very tangible ways. We have Kittitians and Nevisians, people of Kittitian and Nevisian parentage who are serving in the military, who perhaps even now are headed into danger in the Middle East and elsewhere. And so we must keep them in our prayers, and we must understand that these world events have an impact on us. And we can all be caught up in the contagion, the conflagration, if we're not careful. And so we must continue to lend our voice, to ask for peace, to ask for dialogue, to ask for diplomacy. There has to be a space, however difficult, for people to talk to each other, because the alternative is for war and attacks and the loss of life. And that, I think, is an unacceptable alternative. So that is something that we certainly must look at and continue to work towards. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. We only have about 12 minutes or so left. I'm sorry, about 8 minutes left. Forgive me. My time is, my ability to tell time looks like it has departed from me. We have about 8 minutes left. We can take a few more calls. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700 for those who may wish to be a part of our first show. It has been a good show so far. I think we've had some good discussion. Callers have called in on a variety of topics and for a variety of reasons. And let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hi, Mark.
Yes, you're on the mark. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good evening. How are you doing?
I'm well. Happy New Year to you and your family.
Yes, and I also must take the opportunity to wish you, your family, your cabinet, the people of Nevis. I also must wish my friend, Mr. and Mrs. Amory, the federal government, the leader of my party, the People's Action Movement, and our executive, and also every right-thinking citizen of this proud federation. I just want to say that today is the 8th day of January, which means we have just about 357 more days left. But it's going slowly but surely. And you know, this year is a very important year in the history of this nation in going forward. I also want to say that and to commend you for the excellent introduction to this program this evening, and for the excellent service you have provided on this program for what, the last 14 years?
Yes.
Wow. Huh. I mean, and to be the only program of its kind in the Federation, and I believe anywhere in the world. I don't know if we have any, well, maybe we might have commercial free, but I doubt we will have a commercial free with a leader of a party. Well, some would say you are not always the leader, you know, when you during most of the program. But you now being the leader, and to see that you continue, you know, to host the program,
yes,
and to give the country an opportunity to dialogue. So let me wish our beautiful and proud federation the very best for the rest of 2020. And as you mentioned in reference to the blessing in Nevis, we have now been blessed with tremendous shower down here in the St. Kitts. So the federation has been blessed with the showers from above. So all the best, and you take care and continue to be the positive force, and all the best for the rest of the year.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and I wish you and your family all the very best as well.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's 5 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. Last 5 minutes of our first show. If anybody out there who wants to call in, again, the numbers are 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call. I can say to you, the members of the public, that we are going to get into some political matters. I didn't want to have our first show being dedicated to that. But as this caller said, this is now an important time, and my colleagues and myself, we will be here on this particular platform. It is a widely listened to platform, laying out our case, making our case as to why we are the best team to continue the work of taking Nevis forward, looking at our accomplishments thus far, looking at the work that still needs to be done, understanding and making the case that there is always more work to be done, that we are not yet where we need to be, but this is a work in progress, and that we, the Concerned Citizens Movement, continue to be the best possible choice for the people of Nevis. We are not just saying so. We will bring the evidence to support that assertion. And while there are others making a lot of noise, when they are examined, we recognize that they do not have anything to offer. Because when they themselves were in positions when they could have made a difference, they did not. They sought to look after themselves, they sought to look after their families, but they never looked after you, the people. And so these are things that we will be looking at, we will be making the case, and so I can warn those out there that the show is going to get a little testy and a little bumpy, because the campaign in chief will be here, and my colleagues will be here with me as we make the case that the Concerned Citizens Movement, the Big Blue Machine, is the best possible choice for the people of Nevis. And so our pitch to you is simple. An election is coming, and we want you to strengthen our hand and send us to Bastille with all 3 federal seats. Let 2020 be the year that we coalesce around the CCM, and that we give this party the mandate to represent us and to speak with one voice in Bastille for and on behalf of all the people of Nevis. The band has struck up. It means we have to go. That's the end of our first show for the year. I want to thank all who stayed with me and all who in fact have been with me over the past 14 years. Thank you, good night, and God bless you.